Good day, Peter. Oh, I have a double chat. How the fudge monkey is... Ooh. Oh my. Oh. Let's... There be gone. Okay, excellent. I hope you can see me, you can hear me quite fabulously well right now. As you noticed, I had 5x5, excellent. Let's take that. Okay. So, as you noticed, I had a new intro. I fixed it up today, and I'm actually quite pleased how it turned out. How it actually turned out pretty damn well, I would, if I may say so myself. Oops. Still trying to get okay. Let's put it there. Okay. So, of course, as usual, I have my microphone wants to go somewhere all wonky. Okay. As usual, my co-host Stefan. Oops, there we go. And as always, lovely Bertil.
Aww.
And there will be, by the way, there will be a bit in the part one of this theme, if you will. You saw, and by the way, the backdrop is something I got onto the other day. I actually had them on my on the SSD on which I have my channel files, etc. I found this one. I think I had this backdrop when I started my channel quite early on, when I first got a green screen, which would have been just under a year ago. By the way, what happens a year ago? A year ago, I was trying to get settled with my on what then came to be Hades Corner. So next week Sunday, the September 26th will be it's next week Sunday, September 26th. We'll hold the first anniversary live stream of my channel. It's gonna be fun. There will be a number of special guests, people who have really been an instrumental help on the way of starting off my channel and getting some viewers, first subscribers and such. So I have a few of these people coming up next week. Very important people, at least to me, very, very important people. And yeah, as I was about to say, in the part one of this series, Bertil had a bit of his little moment in the spotlight, and there will be in the future more of Bertil. You will be seen on this channel, more than just the regular introduction of my co-hosts. He'll have and the role of course, co-hosting here. He's here sitting with me, with Stefan. Okay, so the part 2 to the Intersex Finn, who was buried about 900 years ago. This is has been radio. The time of burial has been dated with radiocarbon dating of this person's femur. It was between the radiocarbon dating of the time of death for this poor person, was between 1040 and 1174, with 99 point something certainty. I have the studies here on how they came up with this figure. I'll just get you the okay. They took reference samples on how, or they just didn't pick up that sample and come up with with an answer. They had reference samples as well. So it's not just that one. They compared, I think it was 90 modern day, I think, Finns, where then compared the AD, and then when they sequenced the aDNA, or ancient DNA, and then they sequenced it and came up with a certain makeup, and then they compared it to the chromosomal makeup, i.e. XY and XX, and how they then presented in modern day Finns, and then would then correlate on the XY XXXY set. I'll be right back. Okay, I'll bring you to I think, if I remember correctly, I didn't go too well into the background or the context, really. But I will, however, go into how the DNA testing, on how they figured out from such a small amount. Okay? Okay, let's go there. Oops. That is rather large. Okay, let's go a bit smaller, and let's take the chat box. Chat box travels there. There we are. Okay, so this is from the study they published in the archaeology magazine, or the peer-reviewed study that did indeed pass peer review. Okay, so here they just go on to talk about what was found in the grave, which were bronze-hilted sword, decorated with urn style ornaments. They two legs in the other legs includes let's discuss findings where hiltless sword blade with silver inlays, a sheath knife, two oval brooches, a twin spiral chain bearer, a small pinacular brooch, and a sickle. Most of these would have hence been associated with women, the jewelry. Okay, so here they go. The typological dating of the artifacts indicates that the burial took place in late 11th or early 20th century AD. Here is a reference to a study of some Davidtainer from 1990, which coincides with the Crusade period AD 1025, 1150 in the Western Finnish chronology. Radiocarbon dating supports this as a femur sample from the grave gave a date of 921 plus or minus 17 before present, which i.e. 1040 1174 at 95.4% certainty. Please let me know if this is too much jargon. If you wish to go somewhere a bit lighter. Okay, and then here's the how they found or how it was dug. Okay, and if there's apparently just one watching at the moment, I would assume it might be Peter. So like and subscribe before we go any further, unless you have already done so. If you're watching this as a recording, please, and you haven't already, please do so. And all these links to and all these studies that I'm referencing today, the links can be found in the description box below. This is just a well of infinite knowledge, really. I mean, there's so damn much in this study, and there's so much to talk about. And by the way, there are what was found. Okay, there's the bronze hilted sword, and as someone noted last time, it was very, very, very well preserved, especially the hilt here. And then there's hiltless sword we have here, and it's got some carvings there. Got the knife, we got the sickle, we got the jewelry here. Okay. I would like to ask my viewers that if there are any glitches when it comes to things during the stream, please just let me know. If there are any audio, video, any of that kind of shit that you may find to be lagging. Okay, because that would be very, very important for me to know, so that I can serve you better. Okay. Okay. There. So let's go a bit further then, until after I've fixed one thing. I'm a bit of perfectionist, if you will, but that happens sometimes. Okay, there we are. Going back to the actual study. So all of these findings were found between 70 to 90 centimeters from the topsoil, which would mean that it's not that interrupted, if you will, as you would expect. And note that, and as a footnote, Finland is located in an area where the ground is seasonally frozen. The maximum soil frost depth depends on various factors, but rarely extends 100 to 150 centimeters in areas covered with snow. Thus, burials at the depth of circa 100 centimeters are not considerably affected by seasonal frost. There you go. There we are then, twat. Okay, so the and what's the of the remains? What was found was that they found the tibias, femora, pelvis, elbow joints, ribs, and skull that were in situ, which is surprisingly much, considering that they were actually digging for a water pipe. So it was about 70 to 90 centimeters below the ground. It's a miracle that it wasn't disturbed, or wasn't considered disturbed in a way that the results wouldn't have been. Okay. And then there we are. And then it's wonderful that the level of accuracy and what they could do, and they, with the soil samples, the accuracy of these people is, let's have a look. There. Hairs of 50 nanometer. That's picometers. No, micrometers. Sorry. Okay, sorry. Okay, that's nano. Please help me. Is that nano? Well, very small. Peter, could you help me out here? Yeah, that's point 0.1 centimeter, isn't it? No, 0.1 millimeter, I think. Anyway, it's minuscule. That you'd have to have, nanometers. Yes. Anyway, 50 to 100 nanometers, which is it's something like 1/100th. Okay, I give up. Anyway, it's small enough to have to be able that you need a microscope to see it. It's that's 0.05 millimeters. That will probably be corrected at some point. I'm sorry, I'm just a stupid nurse. I don't deal with these the measures of length I only deal with volumes of liquid and weights and volumes of volumes and concentrations of liquid. Okay. Anyway, what they go on to say, this is from how they came up with the DNA, the chromosomal karyotype. Okay, and I will go into I will also go into the DNA sampling and the this is a history episode, because this is an episode of History with Heidi, because this deals with the history of LGBT plus, even though this is more on the science, perhaps. Anyway, okay, let's go to the study. I think. Okay. Chatbox travels down here. Okay. Peter goes on to say that a sheet of paper is 100,000 nanometers thick. Okay. Yeah. There we are. Okay. So they took separate soil samples and from what was of what samples of the soil from the original excavations in 1968 and 69, and there's an analysis of the textile fibers, which I will not go through into. And why science is so wonderful that they found 20 from 1,000-year-old soil sample. They were managed to find 23 non-human mammalian hairs and 3 bird feather fragments were extracted, and most hairs were very short, from 0.2 to 2 millimeters long. Yeah, that's science, cunts. Okay, it's wonderful. And they were even managed to identify sheep, that some of them were sheep hair, and the color even. Okay, that's another thing. But here we have the chromosomal sex. Okay, as bone material from the Suontaka grave consists of only 2 highly degraded femurs and the few very, very small pieces of bone, the elbow joints and some ribs and stuff. Okay, the osteological analysis can be done, which is basically, online you see these pictures or drawings of skeletons and a text like "we're all the same inside." But from that skeleton, you could tell the ethnic background and likely biological sex of said person. So it's only partially true. Okay, so anyway, ancient DNA. It's the ancient DNA is used on other in other cases where it's practical or the person's DNA is needed to be, or chromosomal sexes needs to be figured out. Okay. Anyway, the analysis may be used to infer the chromosomal sex of an individual even from low quantities of skeletal material. Reich et al. 2010. All these studies are in the description box, link there. Okay. I think yes, and you can actually, if you go to, there's the Cambridge University Press article that you can go and check. When you go there, it's on one of the tabs. You can find the supplementary material on the protocols and settings of the or the scientific research protocols and settings in which these samples were analyzed. It's all there. Okay. We as in the group of scientists extracted and sequenced aDNA from one of the femur fragments in archaeogenetics laboratory in Max Planck Institute of Science of Human History in Jena, Germany. If Max Planck Institute for the Science of Human History takes these people, they are credible, because the Max Planck Institute they just take some random Joes off the street saying, we have a piece of bone, we want to do DNA on this, right now, just off the street. You have to have some credentials to get in there. So these aren't just every other 13 and a dozen scientists. Okay. And it's a supplementary material. Go check it out. It's really worth it. It's interesting. Okay, so going on. Unfortunately, the sample gave a very low yield of endogenous human DNA, even after a capture of procedure to enrich for human DNA. The data contained only 106,781 sequence reads mapping to the human genome of a total of 18,350,176 overall reads, 8,329 of which had mapping quality above 30. So it was very damaged. The DNA. Oops, sorry about that. It was very damaged. But as we go further, we can see how they did the trick. Okay, so it's part 2. Let's have a supplementary material. Part 2. Let's go here. There. That's the table S2 this is referring to. So, therefore, they didn't extend the genetic analysis beyond the sex determination, because that's among the analysis types that need least amount of data. Existing methods for chromosomal sex determination. Here are references: Skoglund et al. 2013, Fu et al. 2016, Mitnick et al. 2016. Anyway, but they lack power for data as sparse as this, but their results suggested that Suontaka individuals' X chromosomal and Y chromosomal read counts neither those expected of XX female nor for XY male individuals. This is quite something, because there's already some data on this, so it's not something completely new. Okay. Anyway, therefore, it goes on. This study goes on to say, we therefore developed a new approach to estimate the chromosomal sex of the individual. So as they go here, they develop science even further. So basically, research into a person's chromosomal sex, the chromosomal sex of an intersex person, creates new ways of doing things in science. Okay? And this is this is something new, anyway, what they are doing here. Because I couldn't find, for the love of me, a research with one of the primary goals being to study the chromosomal sex of a person. So I don't think in good old Muraka this would even get any funding. But these researchers were actually from a public university, from a Finnish university, they get state funding. A university that gets state funding. So there we go. Okay. They went on to downsample the sequencing reads for individuals where a novel approach to estimate the chromosomal sex of the individual, where we downsampled sequencing reads from individuals of known genetic sex to the number of reads observed in Suontaka individual. And in this study, N was 8,329. So they had a big sample on this. By the way, if you have any questions, comments, please interject. Please, I really that's why I love doing live stuff, because I can interact with my audience, even though today it's not exactly a big audience. There's been a few times that I have actually spoken to an audience of 0. The counter up there in said 0, as well as it said Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube 0 all combined. Okay, so let's go. Okay, let's get this. Okay, so here is the what it's like, or how they did it, how and where they did it. Okay, the supplementary material 2. Okay, so one of the 2 femoral segments was used in this, and it was 65.9 milligrams of bone powder was drilled out. But so it's from that small amount you can determine someone's biological sex. or the is not well, not so much the biological sex, but the chromosomal sex, shall we say? Okay. So they model their 4 possible scenarios. Okay, that could be produced. XX, XY, contaminated sample. 1, XX, 2, XY, 3, a contaminated sample with mix of reads from XX and the XY individuals, and 4, an aneuploid karyotype XXY, which is male with Klinefelter syndrome. And the details can be found in the supplementary material too. It's really, really interesting. Okay. Okay, and this is just super, super dope. And what they found was that the individual resembled most closely the XXY karyotype, which means male with Klinefelter syndrome. There we go. Okay. There. Their model classified the Suontaka individual as XXY with 99.75% probability contamination, 0.25 probability, and as XX or XY with less than 10 to the negative 4%, 10 to the negative 4, 10 to the negative 6, sorry. So those were negligible. Just negligibly small, tiny, insignificantly tiny. And this is where it's so interesting, at least in my opinion. Okay? So, in a subset of data that was enriched for plausibility, ancient-looking reads, and 2534, the corresponding probabilities were up to 99.96% and 0.04 for contamination. And again, even more insignificant readings for either XX or XY. What more do you need? It's there, and whatever. This is whatever you say. There are more than 2 biological sexes. I mean, it's not just that some say it's just variation between the biological sexes. I'm just fuck you. It's not. It's a spectrum. No one's 100% straight or 100% gay. No one is 100% cis or the other, and then or 100% of anything in the far end of the spectrum. And it's not just variation between kind or sex or whatever you want to call it. It's more complicated than that, dear viewers. Much more. Okay, and yes, there's the conversation part or the discussion part where they discuss the findings and rather the results they have. Okay. The context of the Suontaka grave indicates that burial belongs to only one individual, dressed in typically gendered clothes typically gendered to a female. Although the grave includes a hiltless sword placed directly onto the corpse, the other bronze-hilted sword is unlikely to come from the burial assembly, as it was found in the upper layers of the grave. It is therefore possible that the sword was deliberately hidden or placed in the grave afterwards. So this is why because there's this thing. Well, here's the thing. When they find these graves, and they for decades tried to how shall I put this? Gender the graves. It's got a sword. It must be a man. It has the grave has jewelry, therefore it's a woman. It's got fancy clothing, therefore it's a woman. It's got fur clothing, and a sword, therefore it must be a man. And it speaks volumes of our society, of what we see in the essence of sex and gender to be. We want, because many people want to keep things simple and simplify too much, and don't want to, and thinking outside the box goes somehow against their comfort zone. So it's something and then they get agitated if you try to go too much over their boundary of variation between kind. It's weird anyway. But it seems that in 900 years ago, the biological sex, of course they didn't know anything about the sex chromosomes or anything of the sort, but they had a concept of gender. Whether or not they had a concept of biological sex and social gender as two different sets of norms, I don't know. I don't know if these people, these scientists who did this research or the study, I don't know if they know it. I'm not sure if anyone knows. I don't. But all I have is this kind of research and educated guesses as to what it probably was. Okay. Let's go. Okay, so through modeling, they were able to to show that even when taking into account contamination, it was likely that this person had chromosomal aneuploidy XXY, also known as Klinefelter syndrome. And this is not unprecedented. So, as archaeological cases of Klinefelter syndrome XXY had been reported earlier, there is a case from Viking Age Iceland, Ebenezerdottir et al. 2018, Neolithic Germany, Rivolat et al. 2020, Orkney Islands, Margarian et al. 2020, etc. And therefore, to their knowledge, Suontaka would be the first case of chromosomal aneuploidy from a context which has been puzzling archaeologists as an atypical combination of mixed gender attributes. While Klinefelter syndrome would be an intriguing explanation behind the mixed gender grave goods of Suontaka, it's important to remember that chromosomal sex is different from gender, and karyotype XXY does not automatically define an individual's gender, identity, or even anatomical appearance. That is very much correct. Could be a variety of things. Could be a person who might not even have a chromosomal variant, shall we say, to show anatomical features of being intersex, or being something else than either binary. And then no, because the chromosomal sex could be considered cis. The grave is found 1,000 years later. No one would know. How the hell do we know? You know? Okay. And as the study goes on to say, that there are several factors. These various variations for biological sex, all chromosomal sexes, whether it be XXY, XO, whatever, identifies something either binary, somewhere in between, out of the binary. That's why it's impossible to tell. Regardless, the study goes on to say, regardless of karyotype or anatomical appearance, the Suontaka individual could have identified themselves. They use them. No, they used they them. Could identify themselves in anywhere on that spectrum, but this person could have had a very very significant symptoms of Klinefelter's. The age was unknown. Age of the deceased was unknown. But if they lived beyond puberty, it could have been because the Klinefelter men have lower testosterone levels than cis men or XY men, so therefore this person would probably have had more feminine features, probably gynecomastia, the growth of breast tissue and such, because male body XY bodies produce estrogen and XX bodies produce testosterone. The XX produces testosterone, however small amounts, and XY body produces estrogen, however in small amounts. So there you go. Okay. So let's go. Okay, there we go. Okay. Well, yes. So, if the early medieval society divided individuals into men and women based on certain characteristics, the pubertal changes or the lack thereof, it could have led to individual being associated with non-binary gender role, which I've talked about. The non-binary gender roles have always existed, do exist, and will always exist. Those religious numbnuts just cannot, no matter how much they try, no matter how much they want, how bad they want it to happen, these non-binary and third gender roles, the social roles will keep happening, will keep existing, not happening, but existing. Because these religious numbnuts, regardless of what they want, regardless how much they've tried, these things have always existed. Twat. There we are then. Okay. Peter goes on to say, gender is rarely black and white. No, I don't think it ever. I don't think it ever is. I don't think it really ever is. It's perhaps there's a gray area between. It's perhaps black and it, or even if it were black and white. Even if it were black and white, there's always the exactly the shades of grey. There's always the shades of grey between the genders, or the biological sex and social gender. So it's never either or. It's not either or both. It's shades of grey. 50 Shades of Grey. I have to make this. Yeah, I had to make the reference. Sorry. Okay. Anyway, let's go back there. Oops, sorry about that. Anyway, however, examples we listed from medieval and early modern contexts would indicate negative attitudes towards individuals, which is in contrast with the elaborate Suontaka burial. The individual was dressed in warm woolen clothes and furs, equipped with jewelry, a sickle, and a sword, and placed on a feather bedding as if to ensure gentle rest. So it has been suggested that in ultra-masculine environments of the early medieval Scandinavia, men with feminine social roles and men dressing in feminine clothes were disrespected and considered shameful. At the same and references there. At the same time, some evidence suggests that cross-dressers and gender-bending ritual specialists could have maintained their own social niche and being tolerated by the society. A contradiction to possibly derivating from an idea that Odin himself was associated with feminine magic. Yeah. And however, when magic was practiced, it was often practiced by male shamans, rarely female, as I understand it. And sorcerers may have been considered unmanly and feminine in Scandinavia. We could consider the possibility that such practitioners being respected and valued members in neighboring Finnic and Sami communities. So there were cases in which there were gender bending, as this study concluded or worded it really. And there was a finding of gender mixing shaman, etc. etc. Anyway, it's been an hour, almost an hour now. Peter, any final comments before or if there's anyone else? There's only one watching, so I think it's Peter. So, or at least I suspect it's Peter. So, yeah. So, any comments, Peter? Questions before I go? Okay. So, as I already mentioned, there's next week Sunday, the 26th of September. Time flies when you're having fun. Precisely so, Peter. Anyway, yes, as I was saying, special guests, faces you've seen here on my channel, familiar faces who you've seen elsewhere as well, not just here. Some you've seen here, both here and elsewhere. Most of them elsewhere on YouTube, that is. And on Monday there will be Culture Corner episode. I'll let you know. I'll publish as usual. I'll try to publish the stream the previous day, about 24 hours or so prior to the stream. And then you'll see what goes on. So there's 2 episodes before you, the magical Sunday special episode, the first anniversary episode. I really hope to see many of you there. And before I say goodbye, I would like to remind you that Bertil is here. He's been watching you.
Aww.
There. And of course there's Stefan. Sorry, I like my soundboard. Okay. Oops, where the fuck is my... Okay. Yes, and again, if someone wishes to debate me on these issues of gender, whether or not trans people or non-binary people should be, well, especially trans people, transgender people, should they be able to compete in the categories consistent with their reassigned gender as per the requirements of the International Olympic Committee from the original Stockholm guidelines and the updates given to that was 2014 or 2015. If they fulfill these requirements, should they be able to compete? I say yes. And are there more than two binary sexes or genders? Please let me know. If you want to debate me, send me an email to my channel email address. But there have been a few who have said yes and told me they'll send me an email. However, you can all guess what's going on. Patronatal should not be a debate. There should be able to compete. I do agree with you, Peter there. But some people do not agree with us. Unfortunately, some dicks don't agree with us. But hey, that's why there's a channel. I've arranged for a third-party channel, to a neutral third-party channel, to take me and my opponent at any time. They've told me that just tell me when. Okay, it's someone I know, someone I happen to know from these circles. Okay, just please email me. I will not. I won't bite. Just kidding. Okay. I think I'm gonna love you and leave you, but thumbs up, thumbs down, subscribe, and tickle the notification bell. Just give it a jiggle the notification bell so that you get notifications for such future content. And I will say for tonight, bye bye, and see you on Monday.